Ladies and gentlemen, check it out, y'all. Back by popular demand. Check it out, y'all. Are they crazy?
Hello and welcome. I'm Lee Peterson. I'm the host of the podcast WDcast, which is called WDcast because it's brought to you by WD Partners, who are at WDpartners.com. And thank you, WD, for sponsoring this show. And we're going to do a special series here for the next few weeks, and hopefully maybe not too many weeks, on the inevitable question that I think every business person has on their mind, which is, what does post C-19 look like? So we're going to gather a group of experts together, and we're going to talk about this in short order and see what the thoughts are, see what the experts' thoughts are, and maybe get into a little bit of a discussion about it. And with me today, I have Jeff Arps, who is in Portland, Oregon. He's the Senior Director of Business Development for WD Partners. And to us, the reason I wanted to talk to him first is because he's on the front lines. And especially in the beginning of this crisis, he's been talking to people constantly to see how we can help them get through and how they can help us, et cetera, et cetera. So he has a pretty good sense of what the combat is like out there. So hello, Jeff. How you doing out there in Portland?
Good. Appreciate you having me on, Lee.
Yeah. Well, anytime you want to switch places,
Come on out
this morning.
Yeah. Come on out. Just not by plane. Just drive out here.
So, first question is the question, really. Like, what do you see happening after this? And for the most part, we can break apart some of these businesses, but let's say retail. Like, what do you see happening to retail once we get the okay from the governors to go ahead and open back up?
Yeah. I think, when I look at it kind of in the grand scheme of things, there are some retailers that are doing really well, right? There's grocery, there's big box, there's pharmacies, they're doing pretty well. And then we're looking at, some of the local digital native brands that are actually doing okay because they were set up for this. They're set up for delivery and things like that. But there's some big things that jump out that have been challenges, obviously, and that will be challenges as they come out of this. The inventory issue, we've talked about this a lot kind of offline. These guys are sitting on a lot of inventory in their stores right now. And not exactly sure what to do with it. It's going to run out of season by the time they get stores opened up. So what do we do with all this inventory? It's going to go to discount for one, for cheap. So I think you're going to see some of those discount retailers actually have pretty decent Q3s, Q4s, because they're going to have a lot of good inventory.
Part of the discount retailer phenomenon would include the big guys like Target and Walmart.
Yep. And then, there's some brands that are just going to sit on it till next year. LVMH announced that they're just going to release this in 2021, which I thought was a kind of an interesting approach. And I guess as slow as fashion has moved in at least the US over the past few years, it might be a decent strategy for them. But like a Gap Inc. just announced they canceled orders for the fall.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty telling. And that's orders for the store, just to be clear too, that it's store, that e-com will still have, some of the latest fashion. So I think we'll see some of that switch over to e-com with a lot of these kind of legacy brands that are going to try to kind of figure it out as they get stores back open.
I read something interesting this morning that e-commerce sales in terms of fashion, or apparel in general, were up 55%,
Wow.
Same week over week to last year. So, and also up considerably from the week before. So I think there's some pent up frustration, but do you think this is the type of event that's going to cause a tipping point in online sales?
I think so. I think we've heard that a lot kind of from some of the retailers too, is like, we finally got adoption to our app, and we finally got adoption to pick up at store. And and people feeling okay with getting delivery and then shipping it back if it doesn't fit. We're starting to see some of those habits change. I don't think it'll be a full, changeover. I think there's still plenty of people that are going to want to get back into the store. But until it's a safe environment, until the stores can prove they can create environments that allow for you to be safe and healthy, I think we will. I think we'll see, continued numbers rise from the e-com, from the BOPIS, and we'll start to see more of that in store. We'll start to see these retailers, investing more in their BOPIS programs, where before it was kind of a nice to have. I think it's going to be necessary going forward. I hear number of stories of people disappointed with their grocery pickups through this.
Yeah.
That it's like, you guys haven't figured this out. This isn't a good experience. You want me to come back when this is over, and you haven't really gained my trust that you can actually pull this off, when this is over. So.
Yeah, I read another story today, a lot of news today, but that Amazon is starting to do dark pickup stores.
Yep.
But they're taking the Whole Foods brand and making them the dark food, or the dark delivery, pickup only, delivery only stores.
Yeah.
And incongruous to me, because it's one of the last few places I really enjoyed shopping at.
Right, right. The one place you don't want to go dark is the place that's actually going dark. Yeah.
Are you hearing at all anything about like social distancing and that type of thing from clients?
Yeah, I think, we've seen kind of the scrappy versions, right, over the past few weeks. We've seen the tape on the floors and things like that. I think that'll get a little bit more formalized. But again, I don't necessarily see it being the kind of the grand scale. I don't see, large programs across a full retailer, like, when a Macy's starts to open up. I don't necessarily see a social distancing Macy's store, for example. That doesn't make a lot of sense to who they've traditionally been. I think they'll look at ways to keep their associates safe, and I think they'll look at ways to make sure clothes that's been tried on is sanitized and those types of things. But it would be a challenge to go in and create a social distancing department store, or social distancing grocery store, without some major capital that honestly they just don't have right now because of the situation. So
you think that when it opens back up, they'll open back up, but the employees will be totally protected. Probably ask consumers to do the same, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they'll still ask people to wear a mask when they come in. They'll still, give recommendations for gloves and things like that. I think those protocols will be what they'll focus on, because they just don't. Yeah. You couldn't go in and do a full remodel to make it a completely social distanced environment.
Also read a super cool thing today where, now this is a small manufacturer, apparel person out of a company out of LA, but they took all their backed up inventory, like you're talking about, and donated it to hospital workers.
Awesome.
And I thought the Gap should have thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I heard that on a podcast yesterday. Is it's an opportunity for a brand like Gap to say, we got a terrible homeless problem in this country. Is this a way that we can give back? I mean, is this a way that we can, utilize some of this? So I think that's a great idea.
Their hometown. I mean, it's probably one of the worst places in the U.S. for that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So much different restaurants. And I know the restaurant guys all the time. You and I went to Restaurant Spaces, and what I remember the most about going to Restaurant Spaces is that we were only a week and a half away from California shutting down, but we were shaking hands like crazy.
Yeah, I was just
left and right.
I was just looking at pictures from the past month, and I was like, holy cow, this was like 4 weeks ago. I was in a room full of hundreds of people. seems like years ago, but
We're lucky, man. I mean, seriously.
very, very. Well, I mean, I was popping vitamin C like crazy when we were there, but
Well, for all we know, we could be asymptomatic, right? And
yeah,
to Javier the minute we let go of this, right?
right, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was the topic of conversation when we were there, right? I think they all saw this kind of coming. There was going to be mass shutdowns and things like that. I think some of the brands that were ready for this, the pizza, the Domino's, Little Caesars have good numbers. Chipotle's had good numbers because over the past year and a half, they've invested heavily in delivery and creating that second line to be able to pull off things like this. And if there's anything, it's kind of shown a light on those that weren't ready for this. Everybody thinks like, oh, we've got drive-thru, we'll be fine. Well, if people don't want to leave their house, drive-thru is not going to do you any good. So they're relying very heavily on the third-party delivery apps, and what they're finding out is their margins disappear when they're having to use these guys, because there's fees that go along with using these guys, and so what little margin they had, that's gone. So
because pizza guys been doing it for 100 years, I mean, 50 years.
Right.
Guys have been doing it super profitably for a long time.
Right. So, I think what we're seeing is them recognizing that, trying to make quick and scrappy decisions kind of on the fly. But as we come out of this, I think we'll see, some big investment from, the big guys on delivery, on pickup, those types of things. McDonald's just announced they took out $1 billion out of their restaurant of the future, which says to me, yeah, we're not going to do full remodels, but you can't tell me that they're not going to be investing in their spaces to be more ready for this.
Yeah. What do you think of the idea that we actually portrayed at Restaurant Spaces about dark restaurants, or cloud restaurants or whatever, but basically it's a pickup and delivery station more than anything else, especially since a huge segment of the restaurant business is fast food,
right?
Service, because I wouldn't call Chipotle exactly fast food, but why have a dining room when all you have to do, you have to separate your chairs by 6 feet or something like that? Why not just go to delivery and pickup? Yeah.
Well, what we talked about at Restaurant Spaces was there's not necessarily a financial case for it yet. So we were going to have to sell in on the idea of it. Well, the past month has kind of given us a quick case study on it, right?
Yeah. They're testing the hard way.
Right. And it's a different situation, but I think it shows, some of these franchise-based models of, what if we sold you as a franchise owner a dark restaurant, and you don't have to have any more than 10 employees to run this thing, and here's some of the profits that you can expect if you just have a dark kitchen, not the traditional restaurant. So I think it's a really interesting idea. I think there's definitely going to be the space for people want to get back to restaurants. I mentioned it yesterday in our call. It's like people are basically waiting in line outside restaurants here in Portland so they open up so they can go in and get their favorite cocktail and get their nachos again. But yeah, I think that'll be very prevalent, over the next year.
In a way, it reminds me of the way online purchasing, and Amazon in particular, bore like a $280 billion hole in the middle of retail.
Right.
The C19 seems to have bore a hole in restaurants, like those guys that were close, not so much. Those guys that can't experiment, not so much. But your favorite restaurant, like the ones you're talking about in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like several here in Columbus that I can't wait to go back to as well.
Right. And those are the ones that I really think about. The big guys they'll be okay. They'll figure it out, and they'll come out of this. But it's those local restaurants are the ones that I think about, that, you know, when you are relying on that third party delivery system to get to your customer, so you got no margins that you can normally make up with maybe a few alcoholic drinks, that's gone now. You know, I know Ohio you could deliver two drinks to their door. Right.
Like we don't all have bottles of booze all over the place right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, those are the guys that I think about and that I've talked to. You know, my brother's, you know, a beer rep in Ohio, and all his customers are bars and restaurants. And so he's in stocking shelves in grocery stores right now, because those numbers are really good. They're up 200% in some areas, but
in grocery stores.
Yeah, in grocery stores. But so you know, there's lots of people hurting out there that are going to need some recovery here very quickly.
Just kind of overall, you know, also judging from your total assumption, I guess you could call it, of what's going to happen. Like,
yeah,
what do you think we're going to kind of recovery are we going to experience here? Is it going to be a U or a check or a V, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot slower than what people want. And I really don't want to say that, because, you know, you and I have a lot of friends in this industry that are relying on things to open back up and get back to, we'll call it normal. I think everyone's being responsible about it, though. I think a lot of people are hurting right now, but there are, you know, very, very responsible people out there within this industry that the worst case scenario, you open your store up and then 250 people in your community all of a sudden have the virus, and it came from your store. That's not a good situation. That's not a good PR move coming out of this. So
food poisoning, I think.
Yeah. So, but I think brands will continue to get scrappy. If they can get little increments open and we can go about this the right way, they'll continue to be scrappy and continue to be able to interact with their consumer. And we'll see some pretty cool innovation, I think, over the next few months, as there's that balance of, okay, I want to go back to the store, but we're not quite ready to go back to the store, but you know, some different opportunities there for a lot of these retailers.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be like a University of Miami type of thing.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel, though, by the time we get to holiday, there's going to be a lot of pent-up frustration. I mean, that's what's happening with Apparel right now, with the 55% increase too, is like, hey, this is 60% off. I'm doing it.
Right.
We have nothing else to do but try and close here.
Yeah. We've all gotten those emails, right? The 70 to 80% off. And yeah, why not have a fashion show in your house?
Even if you're stuck by yourself. New York.
Yeah. No, I think to that point, I think people are very close to that pent up situation. You know, people here, we can't use our parks, and in Oregon, it's like, you're not going to let me go to my park? Like, how that's the whole reason I'm here. Like, and you know, we've got friends and family in California. They're like, I want to go to the beach. Like, I live in California to go to the beach, not to stay in my apartment. And so yeah, it's definitely some pent up anxiousness, I guess is a good word for it.
Well, and it's building. From our house and all the people that we've sequestered here. It's definitely building.
Yeah. I think it'll be a pretty epic summer if we can get back to some normalcy.
Okay, Jeff. Well, thanks a lot. Just wanted to get your take on all this stuff, and just a quickie, like, how you doing? How you doing out there? How's it going? Other than not being able to go to parks.
Yeah. No, we're doing good. I mean, my wife and I chose to move across the country in one of the strangest times in history. So that's been interesting over the past few weeks. But I think with that, we got to see 10 different states and how they're all coping with this. And yeah, I mean, we see on the news that, you know, there's a bunch of different regulations from state to state, but seeing the people and interacting with some people kind of along the way from a safe distance. Everybody's behind this. Everybody is doing what they need to do and what they're being asked to do to be able to get through this. And that definitely gives us hope of, this can end sooner than maybe some of the 2021 projections that we were originally seeing, when this all started. And, and so we definitely have a lot of hope for, a good summer and good rest of the year for us and all of our friends out there in the retail restaurant world. So
super opinion. I hope you're right. I a long time ago, I knew a French guy, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he's like, "You Americans don't smoke anymore, do you?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "One thing I had always admired about Americans, and we make fun of them," he admitted. He goes, "But when you guys decide to do something like quit smoking, you do it, and nobody in America smokes again, and they still smoke in France." So,
right, yeah.
You too, Javier, right? You're smoking. I'm just kidding. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. You've been super gracious. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Later and see how this is going. Hopefully, we're going to have to do a lot of these, and we're going to kind of start busting out of this.
Yeah. Start getting back to work.
Yeah. So people, be sure and listen. We're going to do a few more of these, like every couple of days, and ask some experts what's going on. Thanks for tuning in, and you can find us at wdpartners.com. When you hit the hamburger on the right down on the bottom, there's a little sign there for podcasts. So please check us out and sign up. Thank you very much. And you guys stay frosty out there, stay safe, and stay at home. Thanks.